It's a different part of the world and not many people come here.
Seeing things that we never even dreamt were here.
And I wanted to explore these islands and what's up here.
Stunning beaches, incredible scenery.
The water's crystal clear, the corals are fantastic.
Some of the best diving I've had in my life.
Going out and swimming with the whale sharks was definitely a highlight for me.
And just able to experience what it's like to be in the water with these majestic sea creatures.
I think the friendliness of the people and the openness of the people was quite extraordinary.
There's such an interesting history, the whole spice trade in the East Indies.
Where we are in different regions is where we get our local ingredients, and that incorporates into our menus.
I would say it is a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
You can't get a more beautiful place.
Put it on your bucket list.
We've left Darwin and now we're on our way to Banda Nera. Amazing colonial history there, the Dutch fort which overlooks the volcano. Further on, Milana Island and Saparua, one of the best dive spots in the world. Then you go to Kofiau and Bukachil, nature, snorkeling, water activities. Misul, where you've got the dramatic limestone cliffs that come out of the water. Very cool place. The Wayag, a very unique, stunning beaches, incredible scenery, and you've got a hike up there as well. And then going up to Sendawashi Bay, in that area there you see some of the largest whale sharks in the world. Further along as you get up into West Papua, a lot of the very unique marine life, and it's all within the Coral Triangle. The itinerary includes cultural ceremonies, welcoming ceremonies, and also things like market visits. It's an 18-day trip, so we've got some great highlights. A unique opportunity to go to some of these amazing locations.
Banda, pretty remote place, and just remarkable how much history has revolved around this tiny little group of islands called Banda up at the top of the Banda Sea.
Community that goes back for centuries and centuries, right back to the early seafaring days of the Austronesians. And then you had the Arabs that came through, the Chinese that come through. They all knew about this nutmeg that they only grew on these islands around over there. And a lot of seafarers come from far and wide then.
What is this Spice Islands thing all about? That's the backstory to those places we visit and why they've got such an interesting history. Particularly, you know, Banda is the centre of the nutmeg trade. The Dutch, within the space of about 10 years, went from not even knowing exactly where the spices were to actually dominating the whole spice trade in the East Indies. And yeah, doing it by all the ruthless means they possibly could, you know. And it took them really 10 years to find out where to go, how to get there, overwhelm any opposition that came from locals or the Portuguese or the Spanish or the English. And from there on, sort of for the next 200 years, just monopolised the whole spice trade. And it fits into the big sweep of history before and after as well.
You would have heard of maybe Manhattan over in New York. That got traded for one of the islands there, Rune Island.
The small tiny island Rune traded within Manhattan. And you can see now how the difference is between Manhattan and the Rune. I still can't imagine how it could be.
Nutmeg growing in the plantations and beautiful Banda Nera was very, very special.
Once we get out to these beautiful places, very important for the guests to experience the culture to the full extent and to incorporate that and take the guests through a culinary journey, not only while they're on shore, but also while they're on board. And food is a very big part of that. So we send the chefs ashore to source some fresh produce for the guests.
So where we are in different regions is where we get our local ingredients. When we're travelling over the seas and things like this, slowly integrating local cultures, that incorporates into our menus. Here in the Spice Islands, obviously they're famous for their spices, so the main thing of us here today is we're going to get some beautiful star anise, some nutmeg, some cassis as well, and some local cinnamon. These things here taste completely different to what you'll get overseas and in Australia. They're unmanufactured and they've got a beautiful, rich aroma and more earthy flavours to them.
We really highlight the local culinary experience. Definitely a lot of fresh produce, local eggplant, water spinach. We get beautiful seafood from this region.
Go down to the wet market and see what sort of fresh produce they have. So the best way to tell with the fish is obviously checking the gills. So you want a nice red colour inside there, and also the clear colour in the eyes and the firmness of the flesh. You can tell this has been caught this morning. It's not too floppy, and it's obviously kept on ice. That's a buy.
It's a really awesome thing to be able to do. We obviously, when we're leaving Australia, we can't get that produce. So while we're here, we make the most of it, and the chefs can, get super creative with what they're making.
In a couple of nights we'll be putting on an Indonesian buffet, so hopefully we'll get to showcase what we purchased here in Bandanera. Ayam goreng, which is herb spiced fried chicken. On top of that you've got some crispy shallots and some local chilies from the market. So this is a local speciality. When we were on our last voyage we tasted it and we had to have it.
My favourite on board is definitely the rendang.
So there's always a cocktail hour before your dinner time. Vista Deck definitely has beautiful views to enjoy a drink on.
This is our second Indonesian cruise, but I really have to say it's one of the best we've ever done.
This is a different way of seeing things. That's why we're here.
The way I see the world is that everything starts with geology. And sometimes you have to go back a few thousand years, sometimes you've got to go back millions of years to understand the landscapes you're seeing. And those landscapes then explain a lot about the vegetation patterns you see, the climate patterns you see, the animal life you see, and from that comes a human interaction with that environment as well. And everywhere we go, so many islands throughout Indonesia. 17,000, I think we've seen several thousand of them on this trip already, yeah.
There's so many islands that it's hard to see how they can all have individual names.
And there's very important ocean currents that are sweeping through this area. You know, we've got the Hiri current which comes off the north part of New Guinea, as well as the start of the Indonesia through flow, which goes through these Indonesian islands and takes a lot of these nutrient-laden waters from the Pacific through to the Indian Ocean.
Hovering around the equator. I think we are about to cross the equator from the south into the north. So yeah, very tropical. And so you've got, regular rain showers coming through, and then you've got amazing sunshine that comes through and brings out the colour in the water.
The Ring of Fire is a Pacific Island feature where they talk about the earthquake zones and the volcanic zones on the west coast of Americas, right around the east coast of Asia, right around through New Guinea, Indonesia, through to New Zealand. So that's the Ring of Fire. But then of course you've got the plates that Indonesia is made up of, where once again you've got interactions that bring about volcanic activity. So we've got the Australian plate moving north, and as that collides with three other plates to the north of us, in some cases it's diving under, some cases it's sliding past, some places it's crunching up. So all sorts of things are happening, around those plate dimensions, pretty much centred on Banda, around that area, and all of the islands to the east of there. You actually can see where the lava flowed down, and you go for a snorkel there, and then the way the jungles and things have encroached all on that so quickly. A sense of time, geological time, I think is another thing that you actually get out of this.
Such a large area. It changes so much as you go east to west and then north to south as well. So the islands change physically from, volcanic, and then you've got limestone casts that we've seen in the last couple of days in Raja Ampat.
Which are hundreds, if not thousands of metres thick, now sticking up hundreds of metres out of the air, dissolving away in the rainwater, forming those casts. It makes for a spectacular landscape.
We've been around this limestone country, and to have these sheer walls above you as you're snorkeling along these pristine reefs, it's really truly magical.
Small group of us with a couple of guides. We were actually climbing up limestone. Well, it was akin to climbing a very rough ladder. You're needing hands and feet all the way, except it went on a lot longer than a ladder. And from there we had the most spectacular view of all these limestone islands with one of the local wooden ships in the bay. How did they know that we were going to need to have a ship there for our photos?
You've got high fertility, which gives us rainforest, jungle and rich agricultural land, and from that we can support large populations of people as well.
The further north we go from where Timor is, the wetter the areas really get. And so mostly rainforest around here, though there are some patches of eucalypts around here as well as melaleuca, the big sort of melaleuca leucadendrons. Interesting vegetation that's got a real affinity to Australia.
And then of course when we get around into Papua, West Papua, along the coast we can probably see a lot more of the mangrove forests and things along the shoreline. We see much more jungle, hilly jungle, remarkable areas of meandering rivers through mangrove forest. So apart from the island side of it, you've actually got that Papuan mainland element as well.
We've got coral atolls that we've been to where you've just got a beautiful little coral cay rising out of this aquamarine sea, which are probably my favourite types of islands.
And this Raja Ampat scenery is absolutely spectacular. Obviously nothing like it in Australia, but not too many other places in the world either, I presume. It must be practically unique.
Well, you're really in the centre of the coral triangle, so you're at the heart of marine biodiversity, and a lot of our guests are really interested in getting to these remote reefs and all these beautiful islands and atolls that make up Indonesia. The most colour on the reef system is within the first 10 metres of the reef, so you'll often find that snorkeling is just as good, if not better, than the diving experience. I think that snorkeling is a huge part of what we do out here, and we really try and find locations that are perfect for snorkeling.
Snorkeling in equatorial waters and just seeing the diversity. Wherever you go, conditions are a little bit different, the geomorphology of the seafloor is different, the current flow is different, all sorts of differences around them. So you get this big diversity of habitats, and of course when you get the big diversity of habitats, then you get a lot of variation in what's actually able to live there. The snorkeling is really exceptional as well, and you get good light up there, accessible to anybody. It really is a big feature of this trip and why a lot of people come.
So when you wear a mask, you place the mask and silicone on your face first, and if it sticks just by inhaling and holding your breath for a few seconds, it means that it's a perfect fit for you.
I think the crew have gone out of their way to find places that were really remote that maybe other people hadn't been to. And everybody feels safe in the water, and that's important too.
I've done a lot of snorkeling all over the world, and this is certainly as good as it gets because of the remoteness. The water's crystal clear, the corals are fantastic, they're not bleached, myriads of fish and colour, and you just float around in this beautiful warm water. It's like being in a bath, so it's incredibly relaxing.
It's probably as good as it's ever going to get, because the water's very clear, the reefs are very attractive. Fish life's immense, visibility to 10 metres and beyond. That's extraordinary.
Colours and the shapes and the textures of the corals are just fantastic. It's been brilliant.
I have snorkeled my little head off and it was absolutely glorious, every bit of it. The fish, just teeming with these colourful fish that you only ever see in magazines and never expect to see face to face.
And having some days where we could have 2 snorkels a day on different reefs.
Every snorkel we've done, it's something different, you know, there's different scenery, different fish.
Clownfish, the anemone fish, of course, are something always looking for those. The giant clams, which are now really considered endangered.
Raja Ampat is known for its marine biodiversity. The coral has been fabulous, whether you're a diver or a snorkeler. It's an incredible place to be in the water.
And it's easy, and you relax and you enjoy yourself.
And when you get out, you don't feel cold. It's just a very pleasant, mild temperature. So life couldn't be better.
And it's been wonderful to sit down and edit photos from underwater and get excited about seeing the various fish. Beautiful.
About 6 o'clock in the morning, we all headed off in the Explorer and we were able to get our guests into some Zodiacs. We took them over to the front of the Bagan, the local fishing vessels out in the bay, and they were able to get in the water with 4 whale sharks.
Out of the darkness comes a huge animal looking straight at you, and I keep thinking I'm told not to touch it or get in its way, and you don't have a lot of choice. It does what it wants to do.
I think there were 4 individuals that we got to see over the course of the morning. Some people were lucky enough to see 4 at once, I think. It is a little bit rare to see more than 1 whale shark at a time, so that was a really special part of this experience.
And how easy and peaceful it is to be in the water with whale sharks in this location.
Just unbelievable. No, they were so close and coming right at you. It was hard to keep the 3-metre distance, and that was really, really special. Amazing experience.
That's partially why we took this trip, because it's one of the few places you can see them.
That was, I think, almost a life-changing moment. Really, they were just so friendly, so inquisitive. It was bizarre. I suddenly found one literally coming straight to me, and I'm thinking, what do I do? And it sort of slid underneath me. It was beautiful. We've had highlights every day, but that was right up there.
Well, this is actually our 8th cruise with coral. Roughly half were around Australia and half international. When we did the other Indonesian trip in the tracks of the moccasins, we were going to places like Timor and Flores, which very interesting.
My favourite thing from the Islands of Indonesia tour, it's a place called Tanah Baru, where they build on the actual beach the original Penisi ships, which is a traditional Indonesian teak-built ship. You'll see lots of big, beautiful ships up to 50, 60 metres.
And how they craft their boats. We're able to get right in amongst a boat that's being built. It's a really interesting way to dive deeper into that kind of part of the culture of Indonesia and their boat building.
One of my favourite experiences is actually in Ende, which is in Flores, a beautiful little island, and we tend to have some shore excursions, some shore leave during that day, and we go up into the mountains and go swimming at one of the rivers. There's a few waterfalls around the region. Yeah, it's a great area.
And we'll go to Padda Islands. We'll do the trek up there, usually in the morning or the sunset. Incredible scenery, one of the most beautiful I've seen. Really unique as well. So yeah, there's a beautiful itinerary of nature, wilderness and cultural events in that Islands of Indonesia trip.
Some of these places are really difficult to access, and having the ship and having the movability of the ship really lets you cover big distances and gets you to lots of different places within the 18 days that this trip is run.
This sort of expedition cruising to me is the absolute epitome. Getting away off the beaten track, seeing beautiful places around the world.
You've got 120 people max, and they do such a great job. All we need to think about is, what time do we need to be on the back deck, basically. Everything's organised. The expedition crew are fantastic. We've got Oswald, who's gone ahead and made all these arrangements, and villagers are prepared for us and welcoming us ashore. So it's super easy to see all these remote places that we wouldn't otherwise get to see.
And we're still learning a lot about the areas, and it feels like you're on an expedition when you're with coral, because it's so big that we're still discovering bits and pieces about this area.
One of the beauties of the whole system that Coral uses with the explorers is that they can make changes on the fly, and so they can still make sure that the experience that you have is a premier experience.
The places you go are more exciting. I think they're more challenging. I think in general they're more interesting. And I'd have to say the level of staff service is of a very high standard. Much more, I would think, than the larger cruise ships.
And I have learnt a lot about the history of the area, about the animals, about the marine life, the geology, and make it fun as well.
It's just blown me away. It's fabulous. There's more to here than what I imagined.
It is just really fantastic to still find places like this left in the world.
I can't stop smiling.
Well, we're only halfway in, so there's plenty more highlights to come.